Hello and welcome to Who Watches the World Cup, the only podcast on the internet that finds the connections between football and politics and compares the two. With me as always, he's a superstar, he's a wonder kid, he's a world-renowned heartthrob. It's David Bryan.
I can only laugh.
Well, that's the kind of thing, that's what happens, right? You know when you see the red carpet and George Clooney walks onto the red carpet and everyone's like, George, and he just looks and just goes up, just like, and he's like, just like, I know, I'm George Clooney. I know I'm a big deal, but I'm a big deal, but I'm cool enough to just be like, hi guys. That's what you're like.
Hi guys, this must be really great for you.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, this must be really good for you to be doing this podcast with me. And let me tell you, Dave, it is.
Well, I'm glad. I think your hyperbole may have run away from you there for a second, but as long as you're happy I'm here, that's all that matters.
Oh, God, I'm happy. I wouldn't trade you for George Clooney or the world.
What about Kasper Schmeichel?
Oh, shit. Some things are better not to think about. But bringing up Kasper Schmeichel... England v Denmark tomorrow. Whoop, whoop, whoop. How do you feel about it?
It's 2 days. It's 2 days from now.
No, there's football tonight, and there's football... What day is it today?
It's Monday today.
No!
Sorry.
Oh, God. Damn it, Dave.
Did you actually think it was Tuesday today?
I thought that... It was one of the semi-finals today, and our semi-final tomorrow. But you're right, it's the Italy-Spain semi-final tomorrow, and us on Wednesday. A minute ago, before we started this podcast, we were just saying, actually, the world is great, right? It's like we're stuck inside our technology and our computers, and it means that we lose so much of our experience with the world. But like being able to smell things, touch things, taste things, hear things, the world is so much more alive than we often feel that it is. And this has killed the world for me, Dave.
Sorry, you were riding on quite a high before we started recording, and I fear I've dragged you back down. No.
It's not you with your George Clooney like smile. It's the revelation that I'm gonna have to wait and 27 hours for football, and God forbid I have to wait another 27 hours for football. But anyway, England Denmark on Wednesday. How did we get here, and was it good?
Are you sure you want to hear about it?
I'm fine.
Okay, Dom's fine. Well, should we talk about Denmark first? Yes,
let's talk about Denmark, Czech Republic.
Okay. This for me, this felt like an inevitability. I didn't really think the Czech Republic was there. I don't think their adventure was going to go any further than this, especially with everything going on with Denmark. But just not from a footballing point of view, Denmark have been really impressive, and Switzerland kind of edged through every round. I mean, they were very impressive against Holland, but I think half of what you can say about that game was that Holland fucked up. They went in with the wrong attitude and just didn't deserve it, to be fair to the Czech Republic. But so going into this game, it kind of all went sort of as I expected. It started so early with Denmark getting their first goal within the first 5 minutes. So I mean, I think Denmark's dream was always gonna continue, and it looked like Czech Republic kind of ran out of ideas, even when they got that one goal back with Patrick Schick, joint for the Golden Boot at the moment with Cristiano Ronaldo. It never looked in doubt, and Denmark kind of made it look a little bit easy, and even in that second half, they were the only ones who looked like they might add to the score sheet, not the Czechs. So, quiet night for Kasper, good night for the Danes, and on they go, back to Wembley, but all the way from Baku, Azerbaijan. Then their next stop is Wembley.
Do you think this quarter-final is kind of the end of the surprises that we've had this tournament. Because one of the things we've spoken about in the group stages and even the knockout rounds was being like, oh my god, I didn't see that coming. Like, Ukraine went through, the Czech Republic went through, Switzerland knocked out France, England destroyed Germany. Destroy is a bit of a heavy word. But now we get to this point in the quarterfinals, and it's like Spain go through as expected, Denmark go through as expected, England goes through as expected, Belgium, Italy was always going to be a bit up there, but Italy had been on a good run of form. It'd be hard to say that they weren't necessarily the favourites. Like, was this just the round of realisation of being like, nah, this is where we are?
Yeah, I suppose so. And Spain made hard work of it against Switzerland, so the Swiss felt like they were on the edge of maybe keeping up this weird spell of surprises in this tournament. But ultimately, yeah, I think the short odds were on all four of these teams making it out the quarterfinals and making it to the semis.
One of the things I thought was really crazy about this round was that it was basically all of the games were decided in the first 5 minutes of each half, if that makes sense. Sorry, let's say the first 10 minutes. So the whistle blows for the first half. Within 10 minutes, something crazy has happened. Then it gets to half-time, and the first 10 minutes of the next half, something crazy has happened. And it's like, looking at like the goals for this game, it's like Spain get their only goal through an own goal after 8 minutes, Denmark score after 5 minutes, England score after 4 minutes, after 46 minutes, the Czech Republic, Denmark score on the 42nd minute, but the Czech Republic score on the 49th. It's like every time a game starts, there's just energy. It seems like from the very beginning of the game, and then from the beginning of the second half, nobody's hanging around here, right?
Yeah.
Like they're going out and they're making things happen.
Yeah, and that's really cool to see because it happens so much in knockout football where both teams go out with a lot of trepidation. They just they want to be solid. They don't necessarily want to put anything at risk. But yeah, you're right. And at least in 3 out of these 4 games, both teams went out and were like, let's get goals early. And the same thing happened with the second half with England scoring right after half time. But with the Belgium-Italy game, the goals all sort of came at the end of that first half, didn't they? So that was the one exception.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, definitely cool to see, because the worst thing that can happen in a knockout stages of a major competition is that there aren't many goals. Like it's so nice to see it be a spectacle and have things to cheer and things to go ooh about, and not just like sit there waiting for something to happen and one thing happens, one goal, 1 or 2 goals, and then you go home. Because even in the 1-1 Switzerland-Spain, that wasn't exactly a boring game. That was tense, because Spain should not have found it as difficult as they did, as far as everyone was concerned. Switzerland showed that what they did against France wasn't a fluke. They are really difficult to play against. But yeah, I mean, ultimately they kind of ran out of puff, and maybe they missed their sort of talismanic leader, Granit Xhaka, and had to miss this game. And actually, towards the end, their goalie Jan Sommer kind of kept them in it with a few good saves. So, but yeah, go back to your point. You're absolutely right. A lot of shit happened in the first few minutes of the halves.
Well, I think this seems like a good time to talk about that Switzerland-Spain game. Because again, one of the things levelled against Spain was, well, they keep winning. They scored like 10 goals in 2 games or whatever. And now it's like 11 goals in 3 games. Like, Spain seemed to vastly outperform the quality of their team. And then we get to this situation against Switzerland, and it felt to me like the lack of Xhaka being on the pitch was kind of what did Switzerland in. Like, if Xhaka had been there to marshal them and lead them the same way he had against... Like, Shaqiri did a good job. There's no doubt about that. But it's the two of them together that really brings Switzerland to life. And it kind of felt to me that if Xhaka had been on the pitch, we might not even have got to penalties. Like, maybe Croatia don't even score that own goal because they're better organised, they're better led, they're a better all-round team. What did you think of that penalty shootout? Because for me, after the absolute insanity of the Euro League penalty shootout between Villarreal and Man United, where it was like 21 back-to-back penalty goals or something ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then the penalty shootout we saw earlier in this tournament, we get to this one, and it's like the complete opposite in a lot of ways, where it's like, oh my God, nobody can get this in the net. And that was thrilling for me.
That was crazy, yes. Yeah, especially after it happened in the France-Switzerland game where they just kept scoring and scoring and scoring. It came down to the final penalty. The 10th penalty was the one. But yes, it was strange this Switzerland-Spain one because, as you know, I missed it. I had to leave the house, which was a bit of a pain in the arse. But when I watched it back, it was like, wow, yeah, this is kind of not what you expect from penalty shootouts at this level, because they've proven to be so pivotal at various points in various tournaments, World Cups and Euros, especially if you're an England supporter over the last 30 years. But so it made an awful lot of sense to me that like France and Switzerland, just everyone went in, and in Europa League final the same thing. It made sense to me that they would have practiced this and be ready for it, and good penalties, and ultimately a saved penalty is as much good luck as it is judgment. And when it came down to I can't remember who it was. Was it Vargas blazing one over the bar to set up Spain being able to win the game? That was it's more surprising nowadays than it ever has been before that somebody would miss the target. Like the amount of practice these players undertake with shooting on target, that to miss, and obviously the stature of the moment of the event can get to you, and that can mess with your concentration, and that's probably what happened with Vargas. But yeah, it was against France. It was tense in one way, and against Switzerland versus Spain, it was tense in a whole different way. Like, is anyone actually going to put one in the net? What's going on?
Yeah, again, you've got. I think they took Shaqiri off in extra time, and Xhaka wasn't there at all. And that has that same kind of feeling to me, where it's like the two guys you would rely on to take up, and not that they're necessarily penalty takers, but they're your team's, the ones you rely on to lead your team through, like Sergio Busquets was, and then he missed. It was like, oh my God, right? Like the guy they needed to put it in has missed it. And like he was there because you can rely on him. But Switzerland didn't have Xhaka. They didn't have Shaqiri. They just like, I don't even know these players.
Yeah.
And I wonder if there was just like a case of Vargas is about 12 years old, I think, and maybe that was a bit of a
yeah. He does look young. And yeah, Shaqiri didn't even make it to the end of 90 minutes. He went off on like the 81st minute. But then another one of the really important players, Breel Mbolo, who had been really, really dangerous and really impressive during the group stages, he had to go off early. And for Vargas, actually, so Vargas came on for him in the 20-something minute. And yeah, it kind of, without Xhaka, the midfield of Zakaria and Freuler just didn't look as... I mean, they managed to keep Spain to one goal, and like you said, it was an own goal that finally went in off Zakaria. But that was kind of a midfield of ball winners and warriors, but not so much creativity. So you would have, if Xhaka was in there, he would be feeding Shaqiri in dangerous places, and he'd be playing balls over the top for Mbolo to run onto, or be playing balls into Seferovic's feet to hold up or flick onto the on runners. So yeah, kind of things just kept stacking up against Switzerland even like I said, even before kickoff with losing Xhaka, and Shaqiri doesn't make it to 90 minutes and Mbolo gets injured. They get a man sent off at the end of normal time. So I mean, fair play to them for holding on through a whole of extra time with only 10 men. And like I say, the goalie made a good few saves there, but it was maybe just a step too far.
Yeah. So we say goodbye to Switzerland. We say goodbye to Belgium. To be honest, there's not really that much to talk about in that game. Like, that game was kind of boring, and the only thing Belgium really did was Lukaku scored the penalty, and there were a few... But the game itself there was nothing particularly interesting about that game, I didn't think.
No, it wasn't super exciting, but I found Italy to be very interesting and entertaining to watch as a team.
My mum likes Italy. My mum is like, that's the team I want to watch.
Yeah, they play really well, and both of their goals were world class. I especially love Barella's goal, where he wiggled and got some space free in the box, and his finish was excellent. And yeah, Insignia's goal from outside the box was a peach as well. Courtois at full stretch still couldn't reach it. There's something I don't like about the Italians though.
Oh God.
And they've always kind of done it, and they're not the only team that does it, but they do it in a way that, to me, takes the PISS.
Oh yeah.
Every team, especially in a knockout situation, every team that's winning and they're counting down the clock, trying to waste some time, will try and win free kicks, and the player who gets, if he does get fouled, will take a little bit longer to get up from the pitch and maybe up off the ground, or maybe the goalie will take a little bit too long with his goal kicks, and the team in the lead will, if they have possession, will try and keep the ball in the corner away from trouble. Like, all of that is annoying, but it's football to a degree. But what Italy do is take the absolute PISS. I don't know why I can't say that today. I'm feeling very, very conservative.
Very sensitive.
And they fabricated fouls out of nothing, which is something that annoys me about football generally, that referees fall for it all the time. They get conned by it's clear, it's obvious that they're going to want to waste time. So when the player in possession for the winning team goes to ground and it looks a little bit soft, I'd like the referees to be like, I'm going to err on the side of the other team for this, because you've got every reason to go to the ground cheaply, so I'm going to let things go, and only if it's really obvious pull up on a free kick. Because the Italians, like Donnarumma, he went up to punch a ball clear, and he didn't get touched. He barely got touched, and he landed fine and sort of falls onto the ground and makes out like he's been clattered by one of the Belgian attackers, which just didn't happen. It was a complete cheat. It was a complete lie, just to waste a few minutes. And it's annoying to me that the game is set up in a way that teams can take advantage of it like that. I always wondered why football bodies are so pent on not pausing the clock when the ball's not in play. Like if a player goes down injured, or a substitution's happening, just stop the watch. Like, actually stop the clock ticking. Because whenever they're supposed to add on time, and that's what injury time is at the end of each half, but that never seems to equate to how much time is actually wasted by the players. So that's a bit annoying. But yeah, I think Italy kind of went too far in taking advantage of that, and it got a bit scummy, and I lost a little bit of respect for them at the end of it. And from including what I hope will forever be referred to as the doing an immobile for the Barella goal.
Yeah.
Where he goes down, trying to make out that he's had his foot kicked off, or he's been slashed by the opponent's studs, and then Barella does his amazing bit of trickery and scores a goal, and Immobile looks up and goes, "Oh, it's a goal, is it?" And he just gets up and runs off to join the celebrations. Uh-huh. And it's moments like that I wish there was some footballing body that looked at things and went, "That's shitty."
Yeah.
Like, he clearly wasn't that hurt. He didn't even make it look like he was limping, or like, "Oh, I'll just run this off because sure that hurt, but I'm happy my team has scored." He just looked up all sheepish and all sneaky and was like, "Cool," and just jogged off. Absolute scum. So yeah, I lost some respect for them, for their mentality, if not for their football, which was really exciting. And it was also really sad to see Spinazzola get injured in the way that he did, because he'd been so great. Such a great player for my dream team, by the way. And to go have such a serious injury for nothing, just for chasing a ball, and meaning he's going to be out for months. He might not even make it for the start of the new season at the end of the summer. So that's a real shame. And it'd be interesting to see what Italy can do to replace him, because he's proven to be quite irreplaceable so far.
Yeah, that might be, sad as it is to say, that might be good news for England going forward. Assuming that we can manage to get past Denmark, who knocked out the Czech Republic. I don't think the Czech Republic are going to be too upset, though. They've done really well. They've got really far. Last year, the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, showed that the Czech Republic is now richer than both Spain and Italy. So even if the Czech Republic didn't manage to get through, they still did better monetarily than the semi-finalists. The Czech Republic as well, in the 2021 World Happiness Report, Czech people are happier than the British and the French. So, and standard of living is higher than a lot of countries that have the euro. So the Czechs, they've gone out, it's a shame. They've played a good tournament. I wasn't that much of a fan of their style of play, to be honest, but they did well. They got to a level further than they probably thought that they would. And they can go out knowing their country's richer than the others and they're happier than the others. So,
I mean,
that's got to be good news.
Maybe that matters more than football at the end of the day.
Yeah. Let's get to an important fixture. A fixture so important historically that the former president of Ukraine blamed it for political dissidence within his nation. It's England-Ukraine.
Really? When was that?
2012. England play
yeah.
Ukraine, and there's a controversial clearance off the line by John Terry.
Yeah.
Wayne Rooney scores to put England 1-0 up, and in the 60-something minute, the Ukrainians do score, but John Terry clears it off the line, even though technically if there was VAR, they would have given it. But there wasn't VAR because it was 2012.
There wasn't even goal line technology, which was the biggest thing.
Yes. Yeah. And the Ukrainians were so furious about it that the president of Ukraine said, "This is why we don't want to join the European Union." He said because it was a Hungarian referee and it's things like this against England. He said it's a national tragedy that everything could have been different. That's how much of a big deal it was. The Ukrainian president at the time said this is why we shouldn't join the EU because of a Hungarian referee, even though UEFA have nothing to do with the European Union in any way whatsoever. But he's like, no, this is why. See, you can't take politics and football apart from each other, not when the presidents are involved.
Yeah, at least if they're football fans.
Yes, well, for the upcoming game, in preparation for the Ukrainian-England game, the Ukrainian cabinet, the political office, were sat all in Ukrainian football shirts for their meeting. They were so behind the team that they were all sat there wearing their Ukrainian shirts in the cabinet meeting. So they were really saying it's time to get revenge for 2012. Glory for the heroes. Glory for Ukraine. Bad news for them. We destroyed them.
Yeah.
It was kind of I say that, but Ukraine played a reasonable game of football, right? Like, they weren't poor, it's just that England actually managed to do something.
Yeah, I would agree. They didn't embarrass themselves, they just were outclassed, really.
I think this is time where I should make a formal statement as well.
Okay.
And I'm going to do it. It's tough. It's tough to do, but sometimes you just got to say these things. Raheem Sterling played exactly how I wanted him to play. Especially with that first goal. He did the thing I wanted him to do, Dave.
Yeah, I remember.
He actually did it. And I was like, what? No, Sterling. No. You're not supposed to play that pass into Harry Kane that scythes through their defence, letting Harry Kane in for a goal he couldn't bloody miss because he's Harry fucking Kane. And this that's what he should have been doing this whole tournament. And he did it. And it was great.
It was great. We talked about it in a previous episode, didn't we, about how he kind of just kept running into dead ends, running it right into a wall of defenders. And I think in that particular game, whichever one it was, he kind of got lucky that the ball bounced to Harry Kane to give him a chance on goal. And you were like, sure, he's doing the running, but it's not good enough. If he had looked up 1 second sooner, he could have actually played him in intentionally. Yeah, and it's almost like he listened. He was like, oh, I'm running at the defence a bit like in that other game. What did Dom and Dave say? Okay, I'll play a pass instead. And it was beautiful. And that wasn't his last positive contribution to the game by any means.
No, but just what a game it was as well. Although it very much felt to me after 4 minutes, the following 41 minutes were exactly what I expected England to be like. And it was like, oh my God, they've scored. And then here we go. Here we go again. They're playing like England. And I was like, oh God, again? Like this again? But then they came out for the second half again, bam, bam. And then they made the substitution and Jordan Henderson came on. I was like, oh, Jordan Henderson. And then bam, Jordan Henderson scores. And it's like, what a day.
Big time, yeah. And for him, after he tried to remember, was it in a warm-up game where he's up until the quarterfinal, he had never scored for England, and he was one of only a few, I think one of 7 outfield players to have played over 50 games for England and not scored. Yeah. And we got a penalty in one of the warm-up games, didn't we? And he took it off for whoever was the normal penalty taker, and he missed it. So it's kind of, he's kind of redeemed himself a bit there, and what a time to do it.
Yeah.
But it's a bit like, as you were saying, with that first half after we scored, it was all a bit England. We still had chances, but the tempo wasn't great, and the commentators are saying how the heat in Rome was making the England players wilt a little bit. But then they came out in the second half refreshed, banged the rest of their goals in within 20 minutes, and then we're just like, cool, now we can start resting players. Now we can start making the substitutions that we haven't really made throughout this entire tournament. And we actually use all 5 of them for I don't know if it was the first time we've ever used all 5 subs during this tournament, but we finally did it. But did you see at the end, after the game, Jack Grealish, who didn't get on at all for any minutes, Gareth Southgate sort of put his arm around him, gave him a proper spoke to him personally about something. And I've got to imagine Jack was disappointed not to get on, and against a team where he really could have ripped him apart, really torn some holes in them. But I can only hope that Gareth Southgate was going, you are the player we come to when we need to score goals, because you can do things that other people can't do, and if we're struggling one way, you'll be the man who gets the call to make something happen. But
when we're 4-0 up, today, you play Marcus Rashford because he needs to run around a bit, I said that to him. I went round my brother's house. Me and my girlfriend both did, actually, and we sat on the sofa with my brother and his wife and their 2 boys, which was really nice. All of us sat together watching the game, eating snacks, which is why I don't remember an awful lot of the game, because there was just a lot of chatting and laughing. It's good times.
It was nice. It was good times.
Yeah.
But there's a point where someone played a long ball for Marcus Rashford to chase, and he couldn't quite catch it. But I went, well, he probably needs to do a few sprints. It's good for his fitness.
Yeah. I thought, actually, I know exactly the moment you mean, because he made that run and he didn't stop going for the run. Right? He didn't make it, but what he didn't think was, I'm not going to reach it. He went and he went and he went. And it was like, if he'd got to it, he would have tried to do it. And I'm like, I like that. That's the kind of dogged determination that I want to see from the England team, especially, where it's like, maybe I can get it, and if I get it, maybe I can do something with it, rather than just resigning. No, I'm not going to reach it.
Probably not going to catch it. Yeah, because that's the kind of thing that a Marcus Rashford, who's playing 90 minutes, might give up on, because he's thinking about maybe reserving some of his energy. But when you come on for Raheem Sterling in the 65th minute, you've got less than half an hour of game time. You might as well just chase everything down. Yeah. Because, like I say, at least this might help you stay sharp for if you get called upon in the semi-finals, when you can only expect it's going to be tougher than it was in Rome.
Yeah. What did you think of Sancho? Finally makes his tournament debut.
Yeah,
did he impress?
I was going to ask you the same thing. Yeah, I think he was very impressive, and he's done a great deal for his own chances of starting the semi-final. He was bright. He had to put on some amazing skills. His feet were so nimble, and he would lull the Ukrainians into making a tackle and just pull it away, and off he would go. And he got fouled a fair few times. He managed to get a couple of shots away, and I think he's the kind of player that the Denmark players would be looking at, going, I hope he doesn't play, because he's just going to be a handful. He's going to be difficult. Him and Grealish, I think, are harder players to figure out how to stop than, say, Raheem Sterling. Raheem Sterling is very direct, and he's very quick, and he's very clever now, which is something that he never, is something he wasn't always, you can always attribute to him. Sometimes he would make bad decisions and lack concentration, but now I think he was involved in nearly 3 of the goals in one way or another. He directly set up the first one, and he played the ball to Luke Shaw to set up one of Harry Kane's goals with a little back heel. And that wasn't one of the goals. It was when Harry Kane's ridiculous, orgasm-inducing left-footed volley that came off a defender.
Yeah.
Which was a really well saved by the goalie, but that volley was
beautiful.
Unreasonable.
Yeah.
But it was really great. But that came from Raheem Sterling making quite an intelligent run, pulling the defenders away, and the defender had to really stretch to get his head to it. Couldn't get any distance on it, and it fell to Harry Kane. And had that gone in, that could have been... That could have not only been the goal of the tournament, that could have been our Gascoigne 96 for this generation.
Yeah, right.
It would have been incredible. But so, I think he's easier to stop if you're watching film, if you're studying Sterling. I think you know what he likes to do. And if you're good enough, you might be able to stop him as long as he's not thinking... As long as he doesn't feel like the best player in the world on the day, you might have a chance. But with Sancho and Grealish... I don't know how you stop them because they can do loads of different things. They can go in and out. They can make runs in behind. They can run at you. They can come up with little poaching positions to score. They can make space for themselves in the box to shoot. I would rather play against Raheem Sterling than Grealish or Sancho.
Yeah, I think like Grealish has obviously impressed. Sancho really impressed in that game. Saka impressed earlier in the tournament as well. Like, Foden has been great. Sterling has scored 3 of our goals and then in this game played the way that he was supposed to play. Harry Kane now 3 goals in 2 games. Can't knock that now that he's started to get in form. And it's such a shame he didn't put that incredible volley in as well. But now I feel like if you're Denmark, all of a sudden it's more like couldn't we have played England a few games ago? Right, like, couldn't we have played them when they got out the group stages? Because they weren't scary. But now, going in to play them, it's like, not only have they not conceded, but they just won 4-0. And if you're Kasper Schmeichel, you're thinking, you know what, we've played some decent teams on the way here, but every week I have to play one of these guys, and they're trouble. And now I've got to play all of them at the same time. And that's got to be pretty intimidating, right? If you're Kasper Schmeichel, it's like, when I play Spurs, I've got to play Harry Kane. You're always worried when you've got to play Harry Kane. You play Man City, oh my God, you're Foden and Sterling. Like, you've got to be kind of ready for that. Oh, even Aston Villa's not a comfortable game because you've got Jack Grealish. And when you're in Chelsea, you've got Mason Mount who's there. And, Arsenal, you've got to watch out for Saka because he's up and coming. But what do when you look to the pitch and it's like all of your worst nightmares at the same time? Like, it's difficult for me because you know how I feel about Kasper Schmeichel, but if I'm Kasper Schmeichel right now, I don't think Dormammu has the same concern because he doesn't really play them. Like, maybe he'll come up against them in the Champions League, but like, either Kasper's thinking, well, this is great, I'm prepared for all of these guys, or is thinking, come on! Really?
Well,
like, I would
think... Yeah, like if you or I were Kasper Schmeichel, we'd be thinking that like 1 or 2 of them at a time is something I can deal with.
Yeah.
And the FA Cup final against Chelsea?
Yeah.
So maybe he would feel not too worried about Mason Mount unless he thinks Mason Mount or the other Chelsea lads are going to want to get one back on him. But Kasper being the Kasper I think we all know and love, he's going to be like, fucking bring it on.
Yeah.
Like, I know all of
boys.
These guys. The only thing I was thinking about is he doesn't have any teammates in the England team. There's no Leicester players. He will know Ben Chilwell, I guess, from his time there. But with James Morrison, is that his name? Why am I suddenly like doubting myself?
Something makes me feel alright.
Does
he play for Leicester?
Is that also the Leicester player? Well, Leicester's sort of number 10. He missed out on the England team, and obviously Jamie Vardy is not part of the scene anymore. So he hasn't got like any sort of inside track on any of them, except for Ben Chilwell, who I don't think has played any minutes. Luke Shaw and Kieran Trippier have played at left back. It'd be interesting to see. It'd be interesting to get inside Kasper's head and know what he's thinking, and because I wonder if Denmark are also going to be wondering what the system is going to be, because we've played a lot of 5 at the back, especially against the tougher teams like Germany, but we went 4 at the back against the Ukraine. So I think it would be a show of respect if we played 5 at the back and also be a little bit defensive, which I know you've had some quarrel with us being too defensive in the past, but it would be sensible, I think, at least in the first half. to go with three at the back, and then you wonder, who's going to miss out from these impressive attacking players? Because Mason Mount is good and Southgate likes him, but I didn't really notice him much against the Ukraine.
No, I'd be putting Grealish in that position. To be honest, I'd just be putting Grealish everywhere. That's the thing with Grealish. Like he's been so great and so versatile. But yeah, Mason Mount, like he was fine. Again, he didn't play the previous game, so he's kind of coming in, maybe not quite. He can't run in. He doesn't have the same continuity. But yeah, again, we'll see. But again, we've got to say goodbye to the heroes now, as well.
Yeah, no more glory for the heroes. They're going home with some, like the Czech Republic. I think if you had offered them quarterfinals at the beginning of the tournament, they'd have been like, "Fuck yeah, cheers, yeah, I'll take that. Thanks very much." So I don't think they'll be going home too disappointed. I don't think either team, well, definitely not Ukraine, but I don't even think Czech Republic really felt like they could have won against Denmark. So going out with honour at the quarterfinals is success for both of them, I think.
Yeah, I think as well, like leaning into the politics side of it now, from what I've been reading, this has been really important for Ukraine as well. Has been to see them go far, to see them, to accomplish this, to go beyond their expectations. Especially considering their footballing record it's not historic that they would get this far. And so then they came top of their group, they got to the quarterfinals, they outlasted Portugal and Germany and France. And, it's the things that I've read, it's been massively important for the Ukrainians that live in places like Donetsk that are, technically Ukraine, but under Russian-backed separatist control. And those Ukrainians who do feel Ukrainian rather than Russia, this has given them, they're not, generally you don't want to go out into the streets of Donetsk going, glory to the heroes, glory to Ukraine, woo! But
prison.
You go to bars and you go to pubs with other Ukrainians and you watch the football and you watch their success, and it gives them a thing on social media as well where they can talk about supporting Ukraine, and it's it gives them a sense of identity and strength, which is the things we've said before that that football is so good for, is giving something for your country to get behind, and it's their national football hero that led them here as well, in Shevchenko, who himself ran for political office immediately after retiring, but unfortunately he got 1% of the vote nationally, so he did perform too greatly. Wow. But
I'm surprised.
If you wanted to run now, if you're a Ukrainian and you're famous, there's a lot more chance of you getting elected than if you're like a British person. Like if Marcus Rashford decided now to run for political office, he might do all right, but he's not going to come up, he's not going to stand a chance of winning. But in Ukraine, it's like the Klitschko's, Shevchenko, the guy now is, of course, the comedy actor that we spoke about before, the sitcom actor. Like, if you're in Ukraine, just fucking run for politics. Why not? It seems.
Yeah. Well, if Shevchenko ran now, he'd probably do even better.
Yeah.
Although now that's people are talking about him as a impressive and in-demand manager. I don't know if he's had many other manager jobs besides the national team. He's probably done his coaching badges here and there. But and what it'll be interesting to see if he stays on as the head national manager, or whether he'll try and get a club job somewhere in Europe.
Well, I guess it's time to bring this to a close. To close the book on the Ukraine, there's one final bit of political news that I wanted to bring to you and see what you think. Ukraine's defence minister is suffering criticism, not because of anything to do with Ukraine's defence during, the ongoing conflict with Russia taking place within their own country, but because the defence minister of Ukraine, in preparation for a parade, decided to give all female military cadets high heels for their parade. Unsurprisingly, none of the male cadets were wearing heels. And people were not happy about it. People that were not happy about it included his own government, who were like, what? Why? And I feel like this is the kind of perfect thing we were talking about with Eastern Europe before. You know, we were saying with Eastern Europe where it's like the Ukrainian government is trying to do things to appear more European, you know, to win favour with the EU and NATO and things like that. But there's always that part of their brain that's like, why don't we get the female soldiers to be wearing high heels?
Yeah.
While
They'll love it.
They'll love
Women
it. They'll
love
love
heels,
it.
right?
Women love heels, and you look at the other cabinet members, the cabinet members of his government, be like, oh, no. People were not happy about it. They decided to look into experimental shoes, including boots with a little bit more heel in it. And the cabinet members, including the Minister for Veterans Affairs, Yulia Lopatina, who is herself female, not best pleased. Lots of comments. The purpose of any military parade is to demonstrate the military ability of the army. There is no room for stereotypes and sexism, said a statement from the cabinet ministers. So Ukraine have gone out. They've performed admirably, and when the heroes get back, we know what kind of parade they can expect through the centre of Kiev.
All the Ukrainian players have to wear high heels. Or maybe they'll be forced to wear football boots with studs as they walk down the street, because this minister's got some backwards idea about footwear.
Yeah. The semi-finals, unfortunately, none of them taking place today. Tomorrow and the day after. I don't even know if I want to ask for your predictions, Dave. Should we just let the football go and just see what happens?
If you like, should I not ask you for your opinion as well then?
Well, you can if you want, but I don't know if we just go let the football play out.
Let them play. Let it speak for itself. Why not?
Yeah, and then that way, well, we'll bloody see what happens, won't we?
Well, we will. So will everyone else. Yeah.
Although, okay, I'm going to give you a little hint to my prediction. So I had to rearrange my fantasy football team.
Yeah,
obviously
as well.
Yeah, obviously because the quarterfinals were over, so half the teams are gone. Thanks very much, Belgium. And so we came to deciding who my players were going to be on the fantasy football team. Out of the 11 players on my fantasy football team, 10 of them play for England. And the only one who doesn't is Immobile. So that's pretty much my
at the beginning of the tournament, you were saying, how good can Italy be when their best player is Immobile?
Yeah.
And now we get to the semi-finals and here you are putting him into your team.
He's been in my team for a bit, but he didn't perform in that last game. And I think he's going to be frustrated that the other two scored in that. And he's got a point to prove, as old Immobile.
I think you might be able to say that he did perform. And in an Oscar-worthy performance of, ow, my foot, ow, please look at my foot. Which was very quickly ended, but he performed something.
Yeah. Thank you guys for listening to this episode. We will see you for the semi-final. Goodbye, Switzerland. You did amazingly. Flip the bird for Xhaka one last time. Sorry, Belgium, that you managed to underperform again. Your golden generation's gone bronze. Well done to Czech Republic and to Ukraine. Glory to the heroes. Glory to Harry Kane. How's that for a fucking sign-off?
Smooth as you like.
It even unintentionally rhymed.
I didn't hear it rhyme. Did it rhyme? I was not obviously paying attention.
Maybe it rhymed in my head.
I'll tell you later when I edit it.
BT Dubs didn't rhyme.
Yeah.